Hi, my name is Joanna Whitney. I am an intuitive artist, a student of natural law, and an energy practitioner. And we've been doing a deep dive into mentalism, which will resume next time. However, this time I'm going to talk about convenience. And this came up for me this week because I'm in the process of transferring my phone life from an iPhone 7 to an Android de-Googled Pixel 7. And it's hard. Fortunately, I gave myself at least a month to make this transition. And I've actually been working on it for about 6 months, if you can believe it. I bought the phone, the Pixel 7, I don't know when, about 6 months ago from backmarket.com, which is much better place to buy it because it's under one company. Not like Swappa has kind of gone downhill now, I think. Um, so so I bought that, and then we had a class here in April where the experts helped us all to install Graphene OS on our Pixels. And I had problems with mine because someone had tried to install Calyx first and it had gotten bogged down. So the experts had to somehow erase Calyx and then install Graphene OS. So that was really great that they helped me do that because I'm only a half geek artist. Um, I'm a half geek somehow, but I am not a full geek. So I definitely need help. And I'm very, very fortunate that we have a group here called the Denver Independent or Denver Digital Independence Media Group. And we put on workshops and have some chats where we discuss these things. Um, so I had the de-Googled phone in my possession and I started to download certain apps onto it. And I used the Aurora store to download some of the more quote unquote normal apps. But it seems to limit you because um, I don't seem to be able to download any more from them. So there's other app distributors, F-Droid and App Apatoid. I'll look it up. Um, but yeah, it's a lot different than the iPhone. Even though I have an old iPhone, um, it's just it's a lot less wiping my ass for me, I would say, just the Pixel alone. And so it's very uncomfortable, and it made me confront some things. Well, I also want to mention that I decided I'm not going to use the map programs on the phone, even though they're supposedly more, privacy friendly or whatever, because that requires locations be turned on, and that kind of defeats the purpose of a privacy phone. So I was going to buy a Garmin GPS system at Walmart for 150 bucks. But then I got one at the thrift store, which was amazing for 10 bucks. That was just a total gift from God to save me some money. And I was able to get a cord for it online, and then it just updated to the latest maps. So I'm set for the Garmin GPS system, and I'll just use that for my map program. Much less convenient than my phone, I'll tell you that. But again, convenience. This is why I'm going to talk about this. And then, obviously no weather channel. You can't really use the weather app because that's location. So I'm going to use it on Brave, the Brave browser, um, with a link to the home screen. And eventually I'm going to switch over to proton mail, but that's, too much at once. Um, so I don't have all the things on here. I don't have PayPal. Let me just look at here's my old iPhone here. I'm not going to get the PayPal app, Venmo, um, Instagram, Lyft. I might have Lyft. I'm not sure. Uh, I never use them though, so I don't think I'm gonna get it. Um, I'm not gonna have YouTube, the YouTube app. Obviously, that's Google. Um, what else do I have on here? Oh, and then I freaked out because I was like, how am I gonna get in to see shows at Red Rocks Amphitheater since they require you use AXS app? And so, the obvious answer to that is either you buy the tickets at the box office and they're emailed to you. So then I can take the Android phone in with the email. It'll probably have a QR code in it. Or I could buy it on the computer and take screenshots and put them in my email on my phone. Much less convenient. Um, and I guess, all these other things that I do, I just won't be able to check on my phone anymore. I'll have to wait till I get home and look at them on the computer. And so that's much less what we call convenient. But what I want to say about this convenience thing, which I didn't realize until I started doing this, is that having my ass wiped by so many conveniences makes me a coward. It makes me more and more comfortable in my little tiny box and less interested in challenging myself to do anything outside my narrow little confined space that I'm comfortably living in. Um, and I don't want that because that's how the dark occult Luciferians are going to get us into the 15-minute cities. They're going to, through this convenience thing. I mean, you know, there are so many people who brag about not using cash anymore because it's inconvenient. And they don't even realize that they're paying $3 to purchase, and then the vendor is paying $3. Both, so the bank is making like $6 per transaction for your convenience. And at some point, there's going to be no more cash, which means that every single dime you spend is going to be tracked. But nobody thinks about that. Nobody thinks about what the implications of that are because they're living under the delusion that it can't happen here. But guess what? It is happening here. It being the social credit score system and technocracy is happening here right now. And incrementally, um, the forces that should not be are gaining more and more control over us through our desire for convenience. So me personally, I am going to just be inconvenienced and go back to a much slower way of doing things. That requires faith. Like I might not be able to check my bank balance from across town. I might have to wait until I get home to check my bank balance because the app that I downloaded for my bank doesn't really work that great on this de-Googled Pixel 7. OFW. Um, but see, being inconvenienced to me is a small price to pay for freedom. And it just goes back to like I think it was the intellect that gave us the idea that we should make life easier on planet Earth. I don't know that life was supposed to be easier. I think that the purpose of this life is perhaps for us to have to go through um, difficulties to grow spiritually. That's maybe the purpose here, but maybe the dark Luciferian overlords and the Archon, off-planet interdimensional Archons' purpose for us as their as our slave owners is for us to be their little robots. So that's the war between the creator and the interdimensional Archons, or whatever they are, interdimensional, off-planet, or whatever they are. There's two agendas for us, and we are, through our ignorance and our laziness, which is just a nice way of saying fear in 100 different forms of it, all mixed together, we are choosing slavery by default. So I'm not. So I'm choosing to, make this transition to this phone now. And it's a pain in the ass. I don't like it that much, but it doesn't matter because it serves its purpose as a phone, and everything else I can do from home. And it's just gonna slow me down, which, that's the thing about what we were talking about last week. We were talking about perception last week, and the week before we were talking about concentration. And both those things require that you stay in your feet. You stay with your feet. You're not like 10 miles ahead of your feet. You're actually walking, and your actions are in congruence with your footsteps and your heartbeat in the present moment. Now, those books were written in 1911, 1918. There wasn't, 1918 was the introduction of the first radio frequencies to the earth, and that was when the quote unquote Spanish flu broke out, which might have just been a radiation reaction. So things were probably speeding up for them, but they were what we would consider very slow back then, because I don't even think there were telephones yet. So yeah, I'm kind of backing off from this whole speed racer society that we're in. The other thing about this phone is it's a 4G phone. I do see now and again it says 5G, but I don't really understand that. And I think there's a way to turn off 5G in here, and I just haven't figured out how to do that yet. So I just want to talk about that because you can look at all the ways that, you may be addicted to convenience and decide that you're going to confront those and confront fear. That's the other thing. The other reason I'm doing this is for fear purposes. Like, I think I could probably get away with just using the iPhone. Like, I mean, the reason I'm doing it right now is because the charging port is starting to go, and I would have to replace it. It costs me like around $100 to do that. Um, or I might need to upgrade, in which case I would have to get a new iPhone. And I think that I probably could get away with it because I'm protected, because I live along um, moral lines, live according to morality, according to natural law. But I just don't like how I get. I get very fearful when I'm too dependent on all these conveniences. So I'd rather not be dependent on them. I'd rather break that dependency right now. And when I do that, it makes me more reliant upon God and, the powers of nature. I have to calm down. I have to be patient. I have to trust that everything's okay, because I can't just check it on my phone when. And also the other reason I guess why I wouldn't want a 5G phone is because, I mean, all of these are very harmful to nature. This is why the bees are all dying off, is 5G and upward. I'm sure 5G isn't great for them either, but they were still alive during 4G and 3G. But 5G now, there's no more bees. I haven't seen a bee lately nearby. So I don't want to participate in that. I don't want to participate in the destruction of nature any more than I already do. I wonder, there's a bunch of people buying electric vehicles, and I just wonder if you have thought about this. Your vehicle is being fueled by coal. It's no better than gasoline, oil, because it still has to be fueled. The grid has to be fueled by coal, which is mining for coal, and another, fracking. Fracking is also supporting the grid that your electric car is being um, plugged in to. I mean, what's so great about that? That's not an alternative just because uh, Mr. Conman Muskie used the word Tesla doesn't mean that's actually Tesla. He just used that because, the mainstream collective may have heard of Nikola Tesla, but he came up with free energy, how to gather free energy from the air, from the ether, not an electric car. That's just ridiculous. More enslavement. Um, what else is convenient? You know what's going on? I also know this is going on. It's been going on for a long time. Like you can buy all your food from like a prep company that preps your food and drops it off to you. Oh my God, what resources are being utilized for that? It's insanity, guys, and how much waste. I once went to a food bank and got like a ton of food from the food bank that was from one of those um, food prep companies. And then recently after that, I went somewhere and somebody had food from like they had a subscription to one of those food prep companies. I mean, this is insanity, people. You can't take the time to prepare food. I mean, your life is fucking nuts if you can't, you know, prepare food for yourself. That's totally crazy. Just the resources of those plastic boxes or whatever alone. But anyway, convenience, Amazon, I still try not to use it too much. I had to use it to buy the case for my Android because it's an old Android, so I can't just go somewhere and buy the case for an old Android. Um, so I did have to buy that on Amazon, but I try not to use Amazon. I do not have Amazon Prime and I don't plan on having it. I don't care if I have to pay more. I would pay way more for Amazon Prime because I'm not going to use it. Um, it's unethical to me, the whole way Amazon is set up. Convenience, and so this is the thing about cowardice that I wanted to say about convenience, all right? Like our forefathers who, I think it was Benjamin Franklin, and I'm going to totally butcher what he said. I think he said, if you trade security for freedom, you deserve neither, or something like that. So convenience feels like security. I mean, if you just think about like those guys used to have to hunt. Maybe they had servants that hunted for them, but I think a lot of them hunted themselves and they um, had to go out in the woods to gather their food. That required courage and critical thinking and presence of mind to gather your food. So that was part of their makeup. We just go to the store and buy meat that's wrapped up in styrofoam and plastic wrap. I mean, God Almighty. Do you know how much torture and cruelty goes into that meat? It's unbelievable. I mean, I'm not a vegan by any means. I'll state right now I'm not a vegan. I did try to be a vegan, but I couldn't do it because of my blood type. Whatever. Um, but I'm also not pro-cruelty, and I don't like participating in just purchasing food that's convenient. I do try to think about where everything comes from and how it gets to me instead of just using it. This is how they're enslaving us, by making everything at our fingertips and making us it makes us so scared. I mean, I'm speaking for myself. I know how I'm getting to be by living like this, that I'm getting more and more afraid to venture outside my little comfort bubble because everything is right there at my fingertips for me to pluck rather than me having to go out and get it, which requires, thinking, planning, praying, interacting with people. They're trying to get us so that we just press a button and things are delivered to us. And that the purpose of this partially is to make us more and more cowardly and fearful so that, we will be more controllable. So that's all I got for this week. And next week I'll go back to reading the book, Your Mind and How to Use It by William Walker Atkinson, the author of The Kabbalion. Until next time.